I get frustrated because I get tired, and when I get tired, fatigue sets in, and we need to stop. I'm tired. I'm ready. And she's like, "Oh God, if we could just make it here, then tomorrow we can do this." And in other words, she's your typical crappy damn boss that you got to follow and do what they say. You're cussing her behind her back. You got no leverage because there's no one else. It's the dog and the master. And, God, all that.
Welcome to Six Figure Trucker, the podcast where we share advice on how to be successful in trucking and have fun while doing so. We'll share stories, news, and advice on how to earn six figures in trucking, and we'll speak to guys and gals that are already doing so. Let's get to the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Six Figure Trucker, brought to you by Norton Transport. And you guys that join us each and every week, you know this is where we elevate and celebrate the drivers that make the wheels go round and round for Norton Transport. They do so much on and off the road. And we have learned over the last couple of years here as we have had this podcast, they lead some very interesting lives. And joining us for the second part of their appearance here on the Six Figure Trucker is Mark and Michelle Schleier. You heard them last week. Now, this is a couple. They met a couple of years ago, and they ride together. They've been married for about a year and a half, I believe it is. How are you guys?
Doing great. How are you doing?
Wonderful. Doing wonderful.
Now, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. And you explained to us last week about how you guys met, and you're a tow-behind couple. You tow the car behind you. You travel together. And you've been able to see some fascinating places. And I just wanted to recap a little bit from last week's episode. Mark is a very experienced driver. He kind of walked us through what he's done. Kind of get us back up to speed, Mark, about your experience as a driver.
12 years with moving combination vehicles with auto truck, doing the Freightliner and Western SARS. Also, we would go to Canada and bring back the Peterbilt and Kenworth. So have probably delivered, 2,000 trucks over those number of years. And met Michelle, decided to give up the traveling and flying and doing all that stuff. And then Michelle, something bit her, and she decided she's going to up and quit her 15-year State Farm insurance agent position and convinced me that we can go off and do this alone. And we've been doing it for a year and a half, I guess, now together, and no looking back. We're just pushing forward. The whole idea was to semi-retire and not work so hard, but we're having such a great time, and they're throwing crazy money to get these trucks moved that it just makes sense to keep going and, make retirement even better in the future.
No regrets and loving life. Now, you guys right now presently, as you joined us last week, we're on the road making your way to your delivery and then on to home. Now, home is Livonia, Georgia. Is that right?
That is correct.
That's right.
But you guys have a very unique home. Many other people don't live in the type of dwelling that you guys have. Kind of walk us through where you live and how you got there.
All right. Well, I'm almost a private pilot. I've got my check ride in 2 weeks, but I've been flying ultralights and different kind of aircraft for about 40 years. And my dream, right before actually for forever, but especially after I met Michelle, was to sell up my big house and to move into or build a house on an air park. And so we live in our airplane hangar. We've got an apartment and a motorhome, and literally, and we've got a small, I've got a 1958 Cessna 172 that, and a 54-foot hangar door. And literally when we're home, I can raise the door and push the airplane out and take off. And that's where the real adventure for me begins.
What's that like for you, Michelle?
It's like, I sure never expected anything like that. We're living in our motorhome right now. We're working on building the apartment, so can't wait for that to get finished for sure. But it's going to be awesome when it is. It's really amazing. I love flying, so it's really cool to be able to just fly right from your house. and there's not that many people in our area, so it's really nice. It's cool. I mean, you tell people and they kind of look at you like, you live where? and they kind of don't get it, but or they think it's really cool. Either way, but yeah, it is really cool.
Have you guys made
Really cool.
some very memorable trips in that Cessna?
Well, I've got my check ride to get my private pilot in a couple of weeks. Actually, 2 weeks from today, the 15th of December. So I've been flying solo. She's flown with me a few times with other in other planes with other people, but that whole adventure is about to unfold. I started back flying again after stopping for so many years, and a little over a year ago, and then right before I was going to get my test, the plane I was renting had some problems, and I had to cancel. And right now, getting a check ride to get your private pilot's license completed is as a 4 to 6 month advance notice. So we got through that one, and then 9 months ago, took a week off and was going to go back up to Charlotte to finish, and wrecked the motorhome on the way and had to cancel that check ride. Well, then we bought the hangar and moved down and got all that redone, and now it's finally come back around again. So we should have already been flying with her, but hopefully during Christmas if I can get the license completed, we'll start that flying adventure together.
Do you have any destinations in mind?
The first one is Kitty Hawk, where powered flight began with the Wright brothers. That'd be about a 6-hour flight from the North Georgia to get there. That we want to go to Oshkosh, Wisconsin, where the largest air show is held every year, and then down to Sun and Fun and every other kind of destinations. We actually have a hangar in Gastonia, which is a kind of a suburb of Charlotte. And our plan is, since a lot of our loads start in the Charlotte or High Point areas, to have a car parked. We have multiple tow vehicles to where we can have a tow vehicle parked at our hangar in Charlotte, which is a 3-hour drive from Georgia, but it's only an hour flight, and that we'll be able to pull out of our hangar in Georgia, fly to Charlotte, put our plane in the hangar, and then jump in the car and then go deliver trucks. Try to minimize the amount of over the road driving we've got to do, especially in our car.
You guys are taking it to a new level.
Well, we started an LLC, which is all kind of recommended as you get into this and diversify it. So the airplane is owned by the LLC, the cars are owned by the LLC, all that stuff we write off all of the majority of the travel expenses. Our cars are actually owned by the LLC. Insurance is a little bit higher, but you got to protect yourself, your assets, and also, maximize the income opportunity and potential. And all of this stuff, you literally can go to any H&R Block tax preparer thing, sit down with them, and for $200, $250, you can get your corporation set up, you can get your LLC set up. They can guide you through what's deductible, what's not. They give you advice. Hey, I would do this, I would not do that. I mean, it doesn't take a huge wallet and a lot of money to jump into this and to get, the knowledge base. H&R Block is on, every town has one, and those people are also helpful. It's not as big of a crazy adventure as it sounds like when you have the right tools in your tool belt and are willing to have the gumption like Michelle does to step out and say, you know what, I know nothing about this, but it's in my heart, and I want to do it, and I'm going to do it, and we push through it, and we make the things happen.
That's fantastic. And talk about, the obvious thing here, it's like not only are you able to have those protections, but how much have you been able to, you don't have to name a monetary figure, but been able to minimize your tax burden by doing that LLC?
Michelle, I'll let you talk about that, hon.
That does help because what we do is we have our pay goes into our LLC. So, and then we just cut ourselves paychecks from the LLC. So then we pay quarterly taxes on our paychecks. So then we're not paying we're not paying like lump sum taxes at the end of the year either. So I mean, it just helps all the way around when you do it that way. And then you can write off all these things, which having my background in insurance, that's where I knew that was the way to go with the LLC, because, you want that protection for your assets, obviously, because we live in a sue happy world, and anybody's looking for any way to make a fast buck. And so, they're going to go after whatever they can. And we've seen it so many times. And so, the LLC is that protects you. And, you get your insurance through the LLC, and, you're perfectly covered. And you don't have to worry about everything that you've worked so hard for just going up in smoke over some silly, frivolous lawsuit.
Sure.
Yeah, and one other thing about that is that when you form an LLC, and I think like we get paid like $1,000 each every 2 weeks. So we're not getting paid a huge amount of money, but we're no longer just self-employed out there entrepreneurs trying to make it happen. We're employees of a company, and we get a paycheck, and we've got deductions made just like anybody else. So when you go to the bank and you try to get a loan after you've been employed somewhere for 6 months, well, who do you work for? Well, in our case, our LLC is called Maxification LLC. And, oh, yeah, we work for Maxification LLC. And how long have you been there? Well, I've been there for 6 months. And here's my paycheck stub thing and everything. And it's just like you work for Walmart or any big company. You're no longer this, well, I've got my own business and I just started it. And so a lot of the crap you have to go with proving that showing your records and profitability, it's gone, because we work for a corporation, just like, so many other Americans. And, unless you're going for something, outlandish, a $80,000 car or truck, but even that you can get after, being employed for the company for a year, and you have steady proof of your income. That's a huge thing that it's somewhat of a deterrent, I would think, for some people trying to start their own company, because again, talking to Megan with Norton, and she was telling me, not many people have their cars. And, we were in Quebec and Montreal, and a young lady was there waiting on, to pick up her vehicle. I guess she had flown herself there to get a truck and to keep going on things. So, I mean, you don't have to have the big expense of the car, yet you can put yourself out there and still take advantage of growing a business without really having to come up with a whole lot of money. I mean, $250 to start a company, a corporation, that's not a lot of money to me, but I know some people might struggle, but I think after 2 or 3 months of doing it, you could do that, set it up. Like I said earlier, get with H&R Block. That blew my mind, because I had very expensive accountants in my construction company, and Michelle had a similar construction company with her husband for all those years. And to think that this little neighborhood H&R Block thing can have you so incredibly set up and looking, like professionals for God, next to nothing. Huge plus. I mean, you talk about this whole conversation of getting involved and getting the training and getting the tools and finding out and getting the gumption and taking that step. It's really easy when you find out who's out there and what their tool bags have and how they can make it happen for you. And they're all just so incredibly ready to help you.
Speaking of tool bags and taking it to the next level, I thought of something that you guys were just talking about there, the tow behind car, and you guys going to Canada a lot. Just share with people some of the things you got to do to cross the border, not only in the truck that you're transporting to deliver or the reverse coming out of Canada, but you've got that tow behind car. What kind of paperwork or procedures do you have to go through for that tow behind car?
Well, there's nothing really special with the tow behind car. When we cross into Canada, of course, we have to have our manifest for the truck or the bus, whatever we're taking in. And, they just ask us if we have anything to declare. And occasionally, well, actually going in, we've never had them check, but coming out, we've had them actually, look in our trunk and, kind of glance through the car, because they'll look in when they when they hear us say, well, we just came through this morning and we're coming back out. Well, why do you have so much stuff in there? Well, because we transport vehicles and we usually come out on the road for, a week or two at a time. So we have a lot of, enough things for, a couple weeks on the road.
Sure.
And they kind of look at us like, we're kind of crazy or something. So, a couple times they've had us pop our trunk and look in our stuff and, but it's not been a big deal, because we don't have anything to hide, but yeah, they do just kind of ask the basic questions. Do you have any weapons or drugs or anything like that? But, they kind of just look at our passports and want to know what we were doing there, where we're from, and how long we were in the country, that sort of thing.
Gotcha. You're listening to the Six Figure Trucker, brought to you by Norton Transport, and we've been so blessed to have Mark and Michelle Schleier joining us on this episode and last week's episode, where they talked about the beginnings of how they came together, how they spent the time on the road, and now we're hearing about their life living in an apartment in an airport hangar with an RV and a Cessna there. It's fascinating stuff. I wanted to ask you guys this question. Mark had mentioned it, about the air show in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Michelle, I believe that is a big, passionate part for you.
Yes. I was actually born in Oshkosh. So, we used to go up every summer. We moved to Florida when I was young, but we spent most every summer up there, and we would go to the shows, and it was a huge thing growing up. So I have always loved it. And so when we first met, and Mark asked me where I was from, I said, well, I was born in Oshkosh, and I thought his eyes were going to fall out of his head. He was like, no, you're kidding me. And I said, no, I was born in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And most people look at me like, Oshkosh, like, is that a real place? I didn't know that was real. And he just couldn't get over it. He's like, the Oshkosh, where they have the biggest air show in the world. Yeah, that Oshkosh. And so that's how, we kind of really connected in the beginning, too, about, the flying thing, because then he started telling me about his love of flying and his passion for it and everything. So, that turned out to be a big bonding thing for us, too.
Now,
so, yeah.
You guys have been able to do a lot of the things you've wanted to do, and we talked about off air before we started recording your top 3 desires. If you guys can each kind of lay those out and how you've seen them come into fruition, what are those top 3 things?
Well, that's interesting. I think we weren't even married. We were still dating, and I asked her, what are your top 3 things? And she had mentioned that she wanted to quit her job. She didn't want to quit her job. She wanted to get out of corporate America. She wanted to get out front of the desk and do something different, was number 1. Number 2 was to be able to travel. And number 3 was to be her own boss. And that was great. I was all, excited for until it kind of entrapped me in having to give up my top 3 things, which were get off the road, stop driving, get away from that, be able to semi-retire, and then get an airplane and end up building or acquiring an airplane hangar home. And obviously my 3 and her 3 overlap, but the problem is that she wants to continue working, and to do this job, to be really successful, she needed me to do it with her. And so that's kind of how that whole thing came together. And actually we had this conversation early on, and I agreed we're going to do it. Well, I'm kind of a type A, personality controlling, management, educated, driven. And I was driving this just like it was like I was still with the other company. And it's not like that. You're not a big fish when you're no longer one of 390 drivers in a, hauling for Freightliner, and you're all of a sudden just working for Norton Transport and you're pulling your car behind you. And her and I, we kind of got into probably the first big blow up we ever had. And
I think so, yeah.
I decided, you know what? We both can't run this thing. She ran her office for 15 years. I'm trying to run this. And I said, you know what? I said, you know what? And those three desires of mine, 3 desires of hers came right back together. And I thought, you know what? I'm doing what I want to do. I'm flying every day and I've got the hangar home, whatever else. And you need to, if you want this, you're the one who wanted this desire with the own business and doing it. You need to take it. I'll support you. I'll just be your employee. And that's kind of how it all started. And actually, I mean, going back with the struggles, competing with different companies and trying to whatever, 2 people can't run something, but especially 2 strong people can't run something. When I kind of stepped back and just kept my position of authority on hooking up vehicles and knowing the best runs, knowing the different regulations, the different permits, the chain laws, all the stuff that I know about the actual physically driving it, when I decided that I would continue to do that, but step away and let Michelle have the day in and day out. I don't see, I mean, she has little baggies from H&R Block that she puts our printed delivery receipts and all of our fuel receipts go into it. She's got it all organized. She deals with all the accounting, the HR. I mean, I don't have to do any of that stuff. I help her pick loads or I'll throw in my opinion, but you know, a lot of times when it comes down to it and it's, well, I want this and she wants that, someone's got to lead and, you know, a lot of times we work that together, but somebody's got to run it. And basically this is Michelle's company and I'm along for the ride and along for the good and the bad. I get frustrated because I get tired. And when I get tired, fatigue sets in and we need to stop. I just, you know, I'm tired. I'm ready. And she's like, oh God, if we could just make it here, then tomorrow we can do this. And in other words, she's your typical crappy damn boss that you got to follow and do what they say. And you're cussing her behind her back. You got no leverage because there's no one else. It's just the dog and the master. And I'm not the master anymore. So
God.
all that.
From what I'm hearing, from what you guys do, what you've been able to do, putting it all together, you're the definition of a union, and you're having the time of your life in the skies to be, on the road, wherever you want to go. I think that a lot of people when they hear this are going to be jealous, envious of what you guys have been able to do and what you've been able to accomplish. And in a word, how were you able to do it all, pull it all together?
That's you, honey. Boss lady, go ahead.
I think we just work together. We know each other's strong suits and, you know, I defer to him on a lot of things because I don't know, you know, different things about the job. And I definitely, you know I can't do it on my own. And I do know when he does need his downtime, and he definitely has to have that. So I don't mind going out, and I do feel comfortable now going out and doing it on my own, you know, here and there. And, you know, we just we give each other our space when we need it, and we make it work.
You've listened to Mark and Michelle Schleier here on the Six Figure Trucker, brought to you by Norton Transport. They have just told you how they share the best of each other, make it work, and have an incredible time across this nation, up into Canada, which Michelle loves so much. And I just got to tell you both, thank you so much for joining us on the Six Figure Trucker, brought to you by Norton Transport. And I hope you have the best weekend and a very happy holiday season.
Thanks, John. I wish you the best with your family, too, and all the Norton drivers and people out there.
Thanks for having us again.
You bet. Thank you very much. And thank you guys for listening to us each and every week here on the Six Figure Trucker, brought to you by Norton Transport.
Six Figure Trucker is brought to you by Norton Transport. Norton Transport is a drive-away trucking company that customers can rely on. It offers excellent independent contract driving opportunities to professional, courteous, and qualified drivers that can provide the kind of service we deliver. If you're interested in learning more about Norton or just want to subscribe to the show, check out 6-figuretrucker.com. That's 6-figuretrucker.com.